Book number 2 done. Lord of the Flies. A sweet read. A short, action-packed thriller. Pretty sweet. The book, pretty much for me, a two-parter. The first part of the book starts out, you know, a bunch of boys chilling on an airplane crash on an island. No women, no girls, and no adults survive. Only young 10 to 12-year-old boys. So that in itself, rad. So it starts out, it's kind of like an adventure story. You think it's going to be like, you know, whatever those adventure stories where a bunch of boys are going to survive and, you know, build little camps and whatnot. I hate when people say whatnot and stuff. And then, and it kind of starts out with a little bit of twist of stuff like to do with Lost, you know. You've got your guy who's like, hey, let's build a fire for a signal fire so we'll get rescued, who in Lost is Jack, and in this story is like Ralph, like my old cat. Meow. And then you've got the guy who's like, you know, let's hunt boars and do whatever nature tells us, which is like Locke and Lost, but in this book it's Jack. So they kind of confuse you. Then there's like a monster, and there's others that they're worried about and stuff. So yeah, it's going in that way. Then next thing you know, they're going hunting for boar, you know, Locke style, with spears. Dude, and then it changes to book number 2. No more rules, alright? No more let's get a signal fire to get rescue. No, dude. It's let's get naked in a circle with fire, chanting with our spears, and let's start killing some kids. Sweet, dude. Alright, that sounds awesome. So, dude, once they killed that one kid, I was like, dude, this book is awesome. Like, no joke, this is getting good. So, really, it just, you know, you're like, wow, this is getting awesome. And they don't hold back, you know, they start, and then they roll that rock over Piggy, the fat kid, dies, Hurley. He gets killed, and then you're like, wow, this is for real. And then they start to hunt the one guy who's trying to get him off the island. So they're actually, at that point, the book is about kids who are hunting other kids, and their goal is going to be to take a spear, both sides, and ramrod them. Which is pretty awesome. So I'm reading it, and I'm like, dude, really intense. And I kind of thought it was going to end with maybe the two people, Jack and Ralph, their struggles. I thought they were going to kill each other at the end. So I was like, oh man, it's going to be kind of anticlimactic situation with that happening. But no, dude, what happens is an officer is there, an adult, ding ding, keyword, is there, an officer from the army of some war, and it throws the whole book into perspective. The book isn't about kids trying to survive and, you know, what you do when there's no adults and how you're going to survive and what kind of savages you turn into and how you act when nobody's watching, kind of that whole deal, you know, what you're going to do when, you know, you're forced to put into situations, and when you've got a leader and you're going to follow that leader, are you going to do things that you normally wouldn't do, you know, like hunt little boys and kill little fat kids. The book is basically a giant story about adult life and how we are and true. That's pretty much the basis of what war is. We hunt the enemy and do whatever is necessary to do so, following a leader. And that's kind of the adult world and kind of what we do even today. And the ironic part of the book is that the adult soldier or officer is the one who saves the boys on this crazy lunatic island. You're like, holy crap! I never thought kids would do that. But it's not really about kids. It's about humans. One thing that I thought was really cool, and the cool part was the whole thing with time. And I kind of noticed it because there was one point at the beginning of the book where they were going to make a sundial. And I think it was like one little sentence talking about, let's make a sundial, and somebody shoots that down. Other than that, there's no references of time in the entire book, other than the growth and stuff of the kids' hair. So, in reality, you really don't know how long they were on that island. They could have been a week, but you know they weren't because their hair was getting long enough where they had to pull it back. So, I mean, this whole story could have took a year, maybe. Depends. Some people's hair don't grow long, and once you pull it back, it can be, I mean, they could have been on that island for 5 years, but you don't know. And I really like that because as a people, time is an important thing. And in this book, time was never referenced other than the growth of hair. And I think that was probably done on purpose, as it wasn't like, oh, they'd been on the island for 4 weeks and they were getting blah, blah, blah. You don't know how long they were on the island. So I really like that, and it's just something I noticed, that there was no reference of time, which is kind of refreshing. Because it's time for this book review to be over with. So, waka-laka-la-wow!